You are now familiar with finding the derivative of a function. So let's say we have f of x equals 4x cubed. The derivative of this is 12x squared. Now, the question is it possible to find, let's say, a capital F function such that its derivative is equal to f of x, to this one? Now, if we find such, then we call that the antiderivative of f of x. Here is the formal definition of an antiderivative. A function capital F is called an antiderivative of the function f on an interval I if capital F prime of x is equal to f of x for every value of x in I. So suppose we have this capital F of x equals 5x squared minus 6x plus 3 and small f of x equals 10x minus 6. So titignan natin ngayon kung yung derivative ba nito is equal kay f of x. Now if we get the derivative of that, we have capital F prime of x is equal to 10x minus 6. And clearly, capital F prime of x is equal to f of x. Therefore, our conclusion is capital F is an antiderivative of f. Suppose capital F of x is equal to 2x raised to 5 and small f of x is equal to 10x raised to 4. By finding the derivative of the capital F of x, then we have 10x raised to 4, which is equal to the small f of x. Therefore, we say that capital F is an antiderivative of small f. In fact, any function of the form 2x raised to 5 plus c is an antiderivative of f. Kasi nga 'di ba, kapag kinuha natin yung derivative nito, ano ba yung derivative ng c natin or any constant? 'Di ba? That is just equal to 0. So, kahit nasabihin kong 2x raised to 5 plus 2, still, this is an antiderivative of f of x because the derivative of this is still 10x raised to 4. Capital F of x plus c is actually called the general antiderivative of f of x. And another term used for antiderivative is primitive function and indefinite integral. The process of finding all the antiderivatives of a given function is called antidifferentiation or indefinite integration. Note that hindi lang iisa ang pwedeng maging antiderivative ng isang function. So, pwedeng maraming function ang kanyang antiderivative. Theorem 1. If capital F is a particular antiderivative of small f on an interval I, then every antiderivative of small f on I is given by capital F of x plus c, where c is an arbitrary constant and is called the constant of integration. And all antiderivatives of f on I can be obtained by assigning particular values to c. Now, let's recall these derivatives. Okay, so tapos nyo na ito when you were in your differential calculus. And we will use this to find the antiderivative of our function. So, kung napansin ninyo, actually, antidifferentiation and differentiation is an inverse process. Diba? Kapag kinuha mo yung derivative nito, pupunta ka doon. Pero pag kinuha mo yung antiderivative nito, babalik ka doon sa kabila. So, yun yung connection ng differentiation tsaka anti-differentiation. Now, let's have some examples and find the general antiderivative of f of x equals 2x cubed. So, for our solution, so eto yung ating derivative formula for u raised to n. And notice that, anong ginawa natin dito? Binaba natin yung n, and then nag-minus tayo ng 1, saka natin kinuha yung derivative ng u. Now, we will reverse the process kasi nga, kinukuha natin yung antiderivative. So, what will we do? given ng f of x equals 2x cubed, okay, since we multiplied by n, we divide now by n. But what is our n? Kasi dito, ang n natin is n minus 1. So, kailangan muna, mag-add muna tayo ng isa doon sa taas. So, we have 3 plus 1. So, that becomes now 2 times x raised to 3 plus 1 all over yung n natin na 3 plus 1 plus c. Huwag niyong kakalimutan yung ating arbitrary constant. So, ang ginawa natin is, ni-reverse natin yung process. So, nag-add tayo ng 1 doon sa exponent. So, we have 3 plus 1. Then, whatever na nandoon sa taas na n, yun yung dinivide natin doon sa baba. Kasi nag-multiply siya dito eh. So, we have 3 plus 1 sa baba. And then, plus c. Therefore, the antiderivative now is equal to 2x raised to 4 all over 4 plus c, or x raised to 4 over 2 plus c. Let's find the antiderivative of f of x equals 2 e raised to 2x. So for our solution, notice that yung 2 times e raised to 2x, pwede natin siyang isulat as e raised to 2x times the derivative of 2x. Kasi ang derivative ng 2x natin is just 2. So pwede natin siyang gawing ganito. E raised to 2x times yung derivative ng 2x, which is 2. Now, doon sa ating formula ng derivative, the derivative of e raised to u is equal to e raised to u times the derivative of u, which is, eto na yung kanyang itsura. Therefore, ano na lang ang gagawin natin? Babalik na rin na lang natin. Ibig sabihin, ito now is e raised to 2x plus c. Therefore, the antiderivative now is e raised to 2x plus c. For the third example, let's find the antiderivative of f of x equals 5 cosine x minus 4 sine x. For our solution, okay, we have to use this. The derivative of sine u is equal to cosine u, derivative of u, and the derivative of cosine u is equal to the negative sine of u, derivative of u. So, eto, cosine na to, tapos ito, sine. So, anong gagawin natin? Cosine u derivative of u is just sine u. So, 5 times sine x minus 4 times, we have sine x here. Pero ito negative sine u. So, pwede natin gawing negative cosine u yun. So, we have negative cos x times negative 4 plus c. Therefore, our antiderivative now is 5 sine x plus 4 cosine x plus c. For the fourth example, let's find the general antiderivative of f of x equals square root of x times x plus 1. For our solution, mas madali kung isusulat natin siya in terms of rational exponents. Okay? So, x raised to 1 half times x plus 1, and then ipasok natin ito dun sa loob. So, we have x raised to 1 half times x, that is x 3 over 2. Kasi di ba, ito is 1 ang kanyang exponent. So 1 plus 1 half is 3 halves. And then ito, distribute natin doon, we have x raised to 1 half. Since meron na tayong dalawa na mas madaling hanapin ang kanyang antiderivative, so pwede na natin gamitin yung ating power rule. Okay? So we now have x raised to 3 halves plus 1, and then whatever na nandyan sa taas na exponent, yun ang i-divide, plus x raised to 1 half plus 1 over 1 half plus 1 plus c. Therefore, our antiderivative now is x raised to 5 halves over 5 halves plus x raised to 3 halves over 3 halves plus c, or that is 2/5 x raised to 5 halves plus 2/3 x raised to 3 halves plus c. Yan. Nakalimutan lang natin si c. And for the last example, let's find the general antiderivative of f of x equals sine x over cosine squared x. So for our solution, Paghiwalayin muna natin, di ba? Pwede natin siyang isulat as 1 over cosine x times sine x over cosine x. But what is 1 over cosine x? Di ba yan ay isang secant x? Tapos, yun naman nating sine x over cosine x is just tan x. From our formula, we have the derivative of secant u is equal to secant u tangent u times the derivative of u. Therefore, that is just equal to secant x plus c. So the antiderivative now is secant x plus c.